Today is April 30th. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It's a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today, out of the Big Book, we're going to be reading Personal Stories, Part 2, They Stopped in Time, Story Number 10, Tightrope, pages 359 through 362. And out of the 12 and 12, we're going to continue our journey through, Step 1, Tradition 1, old habits die hard, I guess, by reading the second paragraph of page 130. So with all that, my friends, hope you're doing well this morning. Life is good over here. I cannot complain a bit. We've been given a brand new set of 24 hours, and today I just want to try to do the right thing and stay sober. Both are kind of a big deal. All right, enough of my rambling. Let's get to the good stuff. All right, my friends. So as we said just a minute ago, we are on Tightrope, which is story number 10 out of the ones who stopped in time. Subheading says, trying to navigate separate worlds was a lonely charade that ended when this gay alcoholic finally landed in AA. So again, we're going to read 359 through 362. Drinking was always part of my family background. All the men in my family drank. My father, and later my brothers, were heavy drinkers. As long as a person held down a job, didn't embarrass his family or friends too frequently, and kept out of trouble, he was entitled to get drunk on a regular basis. Drinking was an adult thing to do, a part of growing up. I don't believe it ever crossed my mind that I shouldn't drink. I was raised in a conservative religion, and I commuted to religious schools some distance from home. Because I had a quick mind and was comfortable with academics, I became something of a teacher's pet. As a result, I was a serious, shy, somewhat bookish child and teenager who found it difficult to relate to my peers. When I went away to college, I was an alcoholic waiting to happen. My relation to alcohol was a love affair from the very beginning. Although I wasn't too thrilled with the taste, I loved the effects. Alcohol helped me to hide my fears. The ability to converse was an almost miraculous gift to a shy and lonely individual. It was at this time that I also began to struggle with the question of my sexuality. For me, the idea of being homosexual, the word gay, wasn't then in common use. It was unthinkable. Drinking helped me to forget and evade. Also, it provided some cover. When you're drunk, people are not surprised at an inability or disinclination to make any serious moves toward a woman. This struggle continued throughout the years of unsuccessful dating and pretending. When I eventually decided to act on my desires, the guilt and the shame, as well as the drinking, increased. Now I had to hide not only my thoughts, but also my conduct. I always tried to project the image of the conservative, masculine, deep-voiced loner with the mysterious, possibly tragic, but always heterosexual love affair in the past. I wound up living two separate and distinct lives. That of the gay man with friends and interests to match, and that of the straight man with a totally separate set of friends and interests. I had to walk this tightrope while trying to build a solid professional life as well. After college, I had gone on to law school, where drinking on a daily basis became the norm. I justified myself with the thought that a few drinks helped me to relax and focus on my studies. Somehow, I managed to do well in law school and to land several prestigious legal positions afterward. I soon learned that I could not drink during the day. If I even had one drink at lunch, the rest of the afternoon would be lost. Instead, I postponed my drinking until immediately after work and would then make up for lost time. Work at a law firm added a third side to my already divided life. Now I had to try to maintain social relations with clients, members, and associates of the firm, in addition to my gay and straight friends from my private lives. Needless to say, as the drinking increased, things became ever more confused. Eventually, the pressures became too great. I had formed a serious relationship and decided that I could no longer carry on the deception. Instead, I would change careers and go into teaching. For a while, things seemed to be going well. But the slide toward active alcoholism was slowly accelerating. I had had my first blackout several years before. At the time, I told myself that if it ever happened again, I would stop drinking. It happened again, and again, and again, but I didn't stop. I was always able to come up with some explanation, excuse, or realization that justified my continued drinking. In time, personality changes began to occur with regularity when I drank. I had always had a sharp tongue when drinking. I frequently became vitriolic. At other times, I could be charming and affectionate, sometimes too much so. People never knew just what I would do or say. After a few years, I was a nightly blackout drinker. My lover drank heavily as well, and I began to compare my drinking with his. I argued to myself that I could not have a problem because his drinking was worse than mine at times. In fact, I suggested that he might try AA. When he did try this fellowship, I did all I could to undermine his efforts to get sober. His recovery would present an obvious, if unacknowledged, threat to my drinking. Eventually, the stress became too much and we broke up, but not before I had succeeded in undermining his recovery. The slide continued. Most of my friends were unwilling to put up with my conduct. The verbal and sometimes physical abuse, the midnight phone calls, the forgotten invitations, and the selfish disregard of anything but my own need to drink. Those few friends who did not withdraw were forced away by my resentments and increasing paranoia. I cut people out of my life, refusing to return phone calls and ignoring them when we met by chance. By the end of my drinking, only 2 people were willing to have anything to do with me on a social basis, and both were heavy drinkers who were not surprised by my actions. The cases in which disaster struck when I drank outside my home increased. I made inappropriate passes at parties or at people at work, both men and women. At other times, I had awakened battered or with my watch or wallet missing, or in the company of strangers whose names I did not remember and did not want to know. There were the inevitable injuries and accidents. I was ejected from bars because I would steal tips or change from bartenders or other customers to pay for the drinks that I could no longer afford. At other times, I'd get into arguments and be forced to leave. In consequence, I made the seemingly logical decision not to drink outside of the house. Instead, most of my drinking was now solitary. When I left work, I would have a few stiff drinks at dinner and then go home. I would stop off at the kitchen to pick up a glass, some ice, and some mixer. I would go to my bedroom, where I kept half-gallon bottles of gin and vodka, and read while the ice melted. The mixer ran out, and sometimes the glass broke. Every night was blackout drinking. The really bad times when I would have to struggle outside to a liquor store or bar late at night, weaving and trying not to stagger, because I had miscalculated and run out of alcohol. All right, my friends, so that's all we're going to read out of the big book today. Can't wait to come back to this in just a minute. Out of the 12 and 12, we've been continuing our journey through Tradition 1. Our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. And yesterday we were asking the question, how does it work when the inmates are on the asylum? So we're going to build on that idea on page 130 by reading the second paragraph. Those who look closely soon have the key to the strange paradox. The AA member has to conform to the principles of recovery. His life actually depends upon obedience to spiritual principles. If he deviates too far, the penalty is sure and swift. He sickens and dies. At first, he goes along because he must, but later he discovers a way of life he really wants to live. Moreover, he finds he cannot keep this priceless gift unless he gives it away. Neither he nor anybody else can survive unless he carries the AA message. The moment this 12th step work forms a group, another discovery is made. That most individuals cannot recover unless there is a group. Realization dawns that he is but a small part of a great whole. That no personal sacrifice is too great for preservation of the fellowship. He learns that the clamor of desires and ambitions within him must be silenced whenever these could damage the group. It becomes pain that the group must survive or the individual will not. All right. So I think the one thing that binds us all together is our recovery. And I know for me, I desperately need a fellowship. I need some accountability and some love and support as I work these 12 steps. And because of that, sometimes I'm not always going to agree with everything people say, especially if it's not necessarily related to the 12 steps or the heart of the program. But I put my personal beliefs aside and I realize we're all different. We're all going to think differently. And it doesn't change the way I view certain people. We're all just trying to stay sober. Putting personalities before principles would definitely be a harmful thing for me. All right, and going back to the big book real fast, we can already see this guy's life is becoming very unmanageable. I mean, he's at the point where he's blacking out every night, trying to shut himself into his bedroom because he knows he's going to black out. And then every now and then, if he miscalculates his drinking, he runs out before he can black out. He's swerving on the road trying to buy more alcohol. So extremely dangerous, the way he's living. And he's losing relationships. He alludes to all of this on the very first page of his testimony on 359. It says here, as long as a person held out a job, didn't embarrass his family or friends too frequently, and kept out of trouble, he was entitled to get drunk on a regular basis. I don't know if he's lost a job yet, but I'm sure that he's embarrassed his friends and family because they've quit hanging out with him. He said he only had 2 friends left, and they were really heavy drinkers as well. And then also, his sexuality and the fact that he was really shy and socially anxious at times. You combine that with a really, really conservative upbringing. I think a lot of what he's alluding to is he's drinking to kind of cover up what he felt was shame. And that is a sad thing. At first, he thinks the drinking's helping with that. But then we can see that it's just getting worse and worse for the poor guy. And unfortunately, it's going to get a little worse before it gets better. So that's all we have for today, my friends. Hope you all have a great day today. As always, I don't speak on behalf of AA or NA, Al-Anon, any other sect or denomination. I am just a friend in recovery, just a friend who enjoys these 2 books. If you are sober today, you, my friend, are a miracle. That's not fluff. It's the truth. You're a miracle because there are so many people dying of alcoholism that never find this program of recovery for whatever reason. So I'm grateful for my higher power that you're sober today, that I am sober today. And my goal today is to have a heart of gratitude. That's what I want to do with this day. Is just thank God for everything he's given me. The second chances, the third, fourth, 1,000 chances that he's given me. Incredibly grateful for his grace. And if we are given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow.